flying in from North Carolina, the founder of Real Estate B School. He has served over 5,000 families, and now he helps 1,000+ agents scale their business so that it doesn't take over their lives. Let's give a big round of applause for Lars Hedenborg.
I promise you I'm gonna cry. Don't get freaked out if it makes you uncomfortable. Just let me do it, it'll be fine. There wasn't anyone that was more like hard stop against EXP than me, I promise. And now I can talk about it, for days. John called me on Saturday, September 5th at like noon. I remember exactly. I'm crying already. What are you doing? Let's go. So John and I were united against this EXP front. Like we had, decided this was not our thing. So he calls me on Saturday. He's like, I'm shaking as he's saying that he's bringing his team over to EXP. And then he asked me, have you actually studied it? And I'm like, oh shit. I never actually studied it. Guess how many people invited me to look at EXP before September 5th, 2020, properly invited me. Guess. One person. So one person tried to get me to look at it like 3.5 years, 4 years earlier. And so the encouragement is there are people that want to come into this model that just need to be properly introduced to it. That was Saturday. I was licensed with EXP the Friday later, 6 days later, and I had to break up with a business partner in between there. So that's the encouragement when it comes to agent attraction. The brokerage that they're at, they have not cracked the code on helping them in life, in production. All the brokerages are the same. They are stacked against the real estate agent. So just hope that's encouragement for you guys. And just don't be afraid, I know you must have been nervous reaching out to me. And John, that system that he gave you, it's literally what he told me to do back then. He wrote the script. He made me, create my list. I call one guy and I was so nervous. My palms were sweating. I was reading my script. This guy's selling like 400 homes a year. I get off the phone with him. He calls me back. He's like, Lars, I just want to tell you, you sounded really nervous because this guy's really good at real estate, better than me. And I said, I am nervous. Like this is nerve-wracking, right? I had never done this before. So there isn't a part of your journey that isn't going to make you severely uncomfortable, whether it's growing your real estate business or if it's doing agent attraction. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it in that time. Though you might want to reset that clock. Yeah, let's start it over again because that first 4 minutes was not my topic. All right, so anybody feel a little bit of turbulence this last year and just in general? Yeah, so we're going to go through some things that you can use tactically to get through tough times. So this is kind of the question I have for you guys. And overwhelmingly, don't feel bad if you can't answer like an enthusiastic yes to this, but do I have a clear roadmap in place to take advantage of the economic shift and grow my business and wealth? Right? This is the time where agents contract. This is the time where there's so much uncertainty in the market. And I'm going to help you guys answer this question positively. So here's where I get emotional. I remember this like it was yesterday. So this is November 2007. And brilliant move. I left a very cozy multiple six-figure corporate job to get into real estate. To make $37,000 net my first 10 months in real estate. I sold a lot of homes, but I bought all the same stuff John bought at the same coaching conference. And I wasted all the money, didn't know what I was doing. But I was not going to let down my family. That was the driver. But shit, a year later, I figured out how to sell a lot of homes. I sold 44 homes in my first full year. And yeah, that's like great, but I was sucking at home. Luckily Anders didn't realize that my BlackBerry, like it wasn't a toy. I should be like loving on my kid as I'm feeding him a bottle, but I'm doing a deal. And Where's Julie? She's in the back. So I don't know what made her take all these pictures at the time when I'm not doing the thing I should be doing, but it helps me now in these presentations. So it definitely wasn't working. This is, anyone work a deal on a vacation and piss off your spouse? See, it's not just me. She still remembers this. Like, the in-laws were there, my family was there, and I was working a deal that didn't even close. And it's in the neighborhood that we live in now, which I run in the neighborhood and I run by it all the time. So I'm constantly reminded of like this one deal. I mean, if you ask her about it now, she still remembers it with like pissed off about it. But I did have a plan, and she was working at the time. And now looking back, she's happy that she had the money coming in, because my plan didn't look like the best plan out there. But I had a why. So I cannot tell the full story, but I had a very jacked up childhood. So nothing that would like obviously have you think that I could do what I did. I just knew that I didn't want to be like my dad. And so in a roundabout way, failed marriage, addiction issues. He drank actively until I was 15, and just watched a guy die, with nothing financially, which really doesn't matter, but no people even cared that he left this earth. Like less than 5 people. I had to call 2 people to let them know that he passed away. Right? So there was a model of what I knew I didn't want to be, and I was gonna figure it out. So my question for you, with John, or maybe Jose said it, I think I'm lucky that I had this sort of jacked up childhood, and it can serve you in, it can be like not the best thing because you can be unnaturally driven, but I just knew that I was going to not be like I saw, right? I was going to be a great husband. I was going to be a great dad, but real estate's really hard to be a great real estate agent and be great at those other things. So you need to get really clear on what your why is, like really in touch with your why. So that when you're doing your workouts, when you're prospecting, when you're doing the hard things that nobody else wants to do, you can just instantly think of your why, and it just motivates you to take action. There's just no question about it. So I'm not going to go through this now, but you need to get actually write out what your why is. And you need to look at it in the times you don't feel like doing what you need to do. It's really, really important. I'm not going to go through my background. I only use this picture. Anders on the upper right there, he's 6'3" now. So to put a picture of a 6'3" kid and my daughter who doesn't like me or her mom, is not as cute as that picture. That's a picture I had framed on my desk for many years to motivate me to kind of do the shit that we don't want to do. So I made every mistake you can imagine in business. I just wasn't willing to let those mistakes, take me off of what I wanted to build. And I'll get through, specifically, I'm going to go through an exercise with you guys to kind of lay out that process for you. So here's what I'm thinking about as, I think we have some tough stuff to go through as a country. Not anything political necessarily. I think we've just been kicking the can on, financially. And I think the global stuff that's going on, I mean, it's a really weird time right now. And I do think it's going to come to a head at some point in the next, 1, 3, 5 years or so. So these are some of the things I'm thinking about. Shifts are normal, so if these guys are out of high school, and I think you're coming into a really tough market that when you're telling your story up here 10 years from now, you'd be like, man, what a blessing to come into a shit show of a market, where I had to fight and scrap, and that 110th door I knocked on that rainy Saturday, they finally answered and let me into their home to list their home, or whatever your story is going to be. But this is just normal. And it's driven, anybody read the book Shift by Gary Keller? It's really, really good. So where we are right now, so we're in the tail end here where the income available for agents, that was 2021. Who had a better 2021 than 2023? Right? So that was 2021. Now we're probably down here, but the agents haven't left the industry yet. Maybe 100,000 left the industry last year. So there's this crunch on way too many agents, not enough income. And that's the kind of shift that we're seeing right now. So it'll just do its thing, and a bunch of agents will leave this year. Probably another 150,000, 200,000 will leave this year. And then we'll be the guys and girls that are left, and then we'll kick ass. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we went from 15,000 agents to 5,000 agents when I got in the business. So the first 3-4 years, everyone was getting out, and there was just more deals. When it started to come back, there was just a lot more business to do. So I think this is the time to get excited. Like really, really, really. And I can say that because this is the kind of shitty market that I built my business in, that now whatever your story is and wherever you're starting, this is the time where it doesn't feel like an exciting time if you're not hitting your financial goals, but you can 100% do it. So I'm following a few sources of news and what's going on. A lot of you are following way too much stuff, and you're just in the daily sort of either social media or the 24/7 news cycle. So just make sure you're only following a few sources. I would pay attention to the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So who's freaked out by the zeros showing up in co-broke on the buy side, the class action lawsuit? I talk to agents, they're like, what's going to happen? That whole side of the business is going away, or the election, or the war here or the war there. It's all noise. It's all noise. It has zero impact on your ability to do real estate. But if you let it get the best of you, it will 100% take you out of the game. So you just need to stay out of the FUD. Some of you need to make some tough decisions on your finances. Like you're living your lifestyle like it was 2021 or whatever that big year was, and you haven't scaled back yet. In terms of monitoring your personal economy is critically important. You need the cash flow to stay alive and stay in this business. You're not going to be a great real estate agent if you go back to the job you did before real estate, right? That's not going to serve your real estate career. So let's talk about how we get there. So anybody read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear? Yeah, if you haven't read it, it's like really, really good. Everything we achieve in our life is just a series of these small habits, and it breaks it down in a way that's understandable. So becoming the type of person you want to become, someone who lives by a stronger standard, someone who believes in themselves, someone who can be counted on by the people that matter to them, is about the daily process you follow and not the ultimate product you achieve. And there's just so much comfort in that. It's literally, what do I do today that's going to lay the groundwork for the week, the month, the quarter, the year, the 3 to 5 years? And none of it comes as quickly as you want it to, but you just compound all these wins over time and you'll get there. So I guarantee there's nothing I'm going to talk about in these 8 must-dos that you guys haven't heard. So I'm going to let you down here right from the start. This stuff is really, really simple, but it's not easy. So just understand that this really is the framework that I've used to sell a ton of real estate personally, sell a ton of real estate with a team, do really well in the coaching space, and then same exact thing. I started at zero with no skill set, with a script that was written by John, and the spreadsheet he shared with me, and fill it in, and you're calling these people. That was starting at square one again. Same fear, same sweaty palms, and it was simple. It wasn't hard. I literally just need to call people and read the script. I read the script, and here I am. I've already sold 5,000 homes. I've already have this successful coaching company, but I'm nervous. My palms are sweating, and I just trusted the process. So for some of you that aren't doing what you need to do in real estate, it's just following the process and just doing it, whether you like it or not. So the first thing I realized that allowed me to disconnect the money I made in real estate from the time I put in was a very simple equation. Well, let me start with this. This is a hard truth for some of you. The income you've been making in real estate is simply the result of the choices you've been making with your time. Kind of obvious statement, but if you're not where you want to be financially, it's likely on a daily basis. And if you just stack up all the wasted time daily, the beautiful thing, we're all standing here today, our balance sheet, our bank accounts, our relationships, they're the result of all the choices that we've made. For the most part. There are extenuating circumstances, of course. And I just love that because we just get to use all of that, all those mistakes as fuel for whatever's to come in the future. So there's no shame, there's no blame. You can start where you are today. So I didn't call it this back then, but the money you're making divided by the hours that you're working. I was talking to a guy, I forget his first name, but he has a corporate job. He has a full-time job now. Likely works, a 40-hour work week. I think he was making $80,000 or so. So $80,000 divided by 2,000 hours a year he's working in that corporate job. he's making $40 an hour, right? My first 10 months in real estate, I only took home 37 grand. I worked about 2,000 hours. I made $18.50 an hour. And I decided when I figured that number out, I was going to change it. Wanted to make $250 an hour in real estate. And just that mindset shift, you guys have to know what the math looks like. So you have to know your current number, like your total income, even if you're working different things, your total income from last year, 2023, divided by the number of hours you worked, that's your business freedom index. And for some of you, you're not very free financially, right? So just know what that number is, and then you get to work. The good thing in real estate is that most of the stuff you do, it's not dollar productive. And you could buy back your time pretty easily and just leverage yourself out of those things. So you need to know what your current number is. And I mean, seriously, go back and figure out in 2023, how much money did I make? How many hours did I work? And then you get to decide what you want that number to be. The first number for me was I wanted to make $500,000 and I wanted to work 40 hours a week. And that's 2,000 hours a year. Very simple math. 500,000 divided by 2,000 hours is $250 an hour. So I wrote that number on a bunch of like those neon colored index cards. And I constantly reminded myself 80% of what I was doing was not that valuable. So if you want to make a lot of money, you're not going to do it doing the traditional activities of a real estate agent, which include like getting in your car, driving over a sign here, picking up a check here, running a personal errand during the day, or entering a listing into MLS, or posting something on social media. Those are all things maybe you should do in your business. They're probably pretty important things, but they're like $15 an hour tasks. And you spend 80% of your time doing them, right? So you're not even in the game of like true wealth building. And the whole industry is stacked against you. So if everyone in this room was selling 2, 3, 4 homes per month, every brokerage would go under, including EXP. Every MLS would fold. Every board would fold probably within at least one cycle within 1 year, because they get paid by having 2 million agents sell 4.5 million homes. I mean, do the math on that. There's only, 9 million sides on 4.5 million, and there's 2 million agents. That's 4.5 commission checks per agent. So if every agent learned how to do 24 commission checks, the whole industry would fold. So there's nobody really at your brokerage that's going to teach you any of this stuff, but this is critically important to understand this. So most agents, who feels like most days are chicken head cut off? Like just personally and real estate, am I the only one? Hands up. Yeah, so the goal here is to control the chaos. For a lot of you, I want you to write this down, and I may even give you the slides, Gabriella, or take a picture of this. This is the best definition of productivity that I've ever seen. It's from Dan Kennedy. I think his book, No BS, Time Management for Entrepreneurs. And if you graded yourself on a daily basis against this definition and just do a little bit better the next day, I promise your life will change. And just grade yourself 1 to 5 every day and keep this somewhere. Productivity is the deliberate, strategic investment of your time, talent, intelligence, energy, resources, and opportunities in a manner calculated to move you measurably closer to meaningful goals. There's a lot in there, but what I take from this is deliberate, strategic investment of time and energy in things that are going to move me closer to my goals. And when you really honestly evaluate your days, some days you barely got through, and it's like a 0 out of 5 against this. But just do a little bit better tomorrow. So we want to work on things that are a high return on time, and there's only 5 things. I definitely want you to write down every one of these. There's literally only 5 things that make you the kind of $250, $500, $1,000 an hour in real estate. Number 1 is prospecting. First part of the day. You guys better write this down. Yeah, get your phone out. The high school kids over here. So these are the 5 things. Prospecting. I don't care what you do in those 3 to 4 hours. Just figure out a way to have conversations with decision-making adults about real estate. And a lot of times it's just overcomplicated, and everyone's trying to sell us everything. I think one of you have your license, one doesn't. Wait till you get your license and you join a brokerage. You're just going to get emails from everyone telling you that they know how to teach you real estate. But it's really just sit still for 3 to 4 hours every morning and generate new business. And prospecting is, yeah, one person clap. One person. Yeah, it's not very sexy. The L is lead follow-up. I was talking to Deirdre before, and 90% of your business is going to come from someone that you had an initial conversation with, but they weren't ready to transact, and you just forgot them. And that's why your business has no chance of scaling. So you've got to organize your CRM. You have to have these text and email sequences built out. Don't overthink them. It could be you're just sending out one email a week on a weekly market update or something. But that's lead follow-up. A is appointments. Appointments with a potential buyer client and a potential seller client. Not an appointment with an appraiser or not an appointment to show a home. It's you're sitting down someone who's not your client and you're signing them to be a client. That's what A is, nothing else. N is negotiating deals. Not negotiating like an appraisal or negotiating like repairs. It's getting a buyer or seller under contract. And then S is systems. So systems are building something in your business that makes it a little bit easier to scale your business in the future. If you look at your week and like 10% of your time are spent doing these things, 0% chance of building any kind of wealth. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen today, but you need to build out your calendar that it's going to support this. And I'll go through that in a minute here. So when you do those things long enough, you get in a position where you have enough money where you can buy back your time, which is like 85% of the stuff you do, you can have someone else do it, even if it's just a simple like licensed assistant or whatnot. Okay, number 3 is to defend your time. So real estate is really hard. It's really hard because there's way too many agents and they're going after way too few transactions. So it's just, everything is stacked against us. It's a really, really hard industry. Who here has kids? And then put your other hand up if you're married. And then you're all in real estate. Put your like foot up if you have goals outside of marriage, kids, and real estate, right? And then who wants to like, maybe work out or have some fun things like, it's insane. It's insane what we try to get after in this industry. It's really hard. Some of you have spouses that don't support your real estate business. And I'm mostly talking to the ladies. Some of you have to go back to your spouse, to your husband, or vice versa, if it happens to be vice versa. But I found with women that they still have all the responsibilities at home and they're trying to get after it during the day. So it could be reversed. I had to negotiate, my schedule with my wife at the time, and we had a clear division of labor. But there's definitely competing priorities. And who feels like information overload like 24/7? So it's just a weird time in terms of everything coming your way. If you open up your phone and you're instantly, YouTube Shorts. I'm like a half hour in. I should be like praying and I'm like watching YouTube Shorts. I'm like, oh, that one's good. It has nothing to do with anything, so it hurts us all. So the struggle is definitely real, but you have to be honest with yourself. I had a conversation with a guy. He was a paid coaching client, and he had been through 2 of our other coaches, and he was really just done with us and blaming us for everything. We just suck and all that. One of the joys of coaching, people try to blame you for their failures. But I really wanted to help this guy succeed. And so I took him on. This was recently. I took him on as a one-on-one client. And I said, you have an iPhone? I said, open up your iPhone. I said, and I was doing it on mine, find where the time tracker of apps. I said, what's your number 1? He said, Instagram. How much? 3 hours and 54 minutes a day. And here he is complaining to us that he had to go into his daughter's college fund. They're living off their daughter's college fund. And he's not even, and he has the proper time blocks in his calendar, but he's just ignoring it. And he's just kind of numbing out. So whatever your way of numbing out is, just be aware of it. It's going to keep you from your goal. So just be honest with yourself. Who here? No, I'm not even going to ask that question because it's probably not. You have to have, in my opinion, I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't open up my calendar and it told me that, okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like during this time block, I'm praying with my wife or meditating or we're reading the Bible. During this time block, I'm helping the kids. And then the kids leave for school and on my calendar is workout. So I have 45 minutes to get a 30-minute workout in. And then at 9 o'clock, I have a sales huddle with my sales team. And then the calendar just tells me what to do. And at 5:30, it tells me that it's family time. I'm like, oh shit, it's family time because my calendar says it, right? But most of us don't operate that way. We don't have no calendar whatsoever, and it really cripple your business. So time blocking is a thing. You know, those PLANS, they need to be in your calendar. You need to decide when you're working and when you're not working, right? If you have to, work evenings or weekends, just have time blocks to do it and make sure your spouse is on the same page. So I think for me, it was like Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturday mornings. I would go on 3 listing appointments every Saturday morning, but it was negotiated, right? It wasn't like a haphazard, like all of a sudden on a Friday night. Friday night was family time for the most part, so I wasn't taking appointments. And your cash follows your calendar. And this is, inevitably, if you're not where you want to be financially, it's because you're not honoring your time blocks. So you got to protect that time daily. This is pretty much what we teach. It's there's your P, your prospecting. We call it new business development. It's a little sexier. There's your lead follow-up. There's your appointments. So when you're in the mornings, you're just trying to fill up your afternoon time slots. And you're not saying like, all right, when can you guys meet? Well, I can meet Tuesday at 6:30. It's like, I have an appointment Tuesday at 6:30. But we can do it, Tuesday at 4, or I can meet you Wednesday at 6 p.m. So you're just filling up your calendar. You're not just giving away your entire calendar. So wherever you are in your journey, you can decide to. So you should take a picture of this. All right, so let's play a different game. This number 4. So I think I'm blessed with I have an engineering undergrad, so I generally just think in systems. I'm super introverted, which part of the reason I cry, because I think like 80% I'm nervous, and then 20% I just love old pictures of my kids. But I do think in systems, so when I got into real estate, I'm like, okay, I had one lead source, one script, and I sold, and a simple buyer presentation. I sold 131 homes by the end of my second full year with just that. So I didn't complicate it, but I created a system that now I hired a buyer agent, a kid that sold 2 homes in his first 18 months, and I just showed him exactly what I did. And he sold 27 homes in his first 12 months with me. And then he wanted to sell like 85 homes a year. I had another agent join me that followed the same system, did 35 his first full year with me. He did 119 in a single year. And it was all the same stuff. So I was just building systems. Who said it? You're kind of building the plane as you're flying it, right? So I was building the systems, and then I would have people come in and they can run those systems for me. Another awesome quote by James Clear: "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." I have a simple system for working out. I sleep in my gym clothes. It sounds weird, but I wake up. It's just a reminder, like I have my gym clothes on. So when the kids leave, my gym clothes are already on. All I need to do is put on my sneakers, and I'm doing my workout, right? So little systems like that. Sometimes I say systems like, what's a system? A system, it's all the little things that when you stack them all up, it'll have you be successful. Date nights with your spouse. It's a system. It's in the calendar, right? It doesn't fail. What are other good systems? When zeros show up in co-brokes for buyer agency, you better make sure you have a system to list buyers, right? So you better make sure that you have a buyer presentation and you know how to sign a loyalty agreement with them before you start showing them homes. The whole side of the business is changing. So we got to think in systems. And this is worth taking a screenshot. This is kind of how I saw the whole thing. So everything... this is how we're preyed upon in the industry. We're sold all the lead sources. I've talked to a lot of agents in the recent months here, and every one of them said, what's your biggest challenge? Leads. I don't have enough leads. I talked to a guy recently that he spent $36,000 on someone to do YouTube for him for a year. He got 0 deals from it. And YouTube is the thing that's like everyone's doing YouTube now, right? What else he was sold a direct mail. So direct mail, he was sold for $50,000 for a year. They were going to farm luxury neighborhoods for him. Just you give me 50,000 and I'll give you a ton of deals. Guess how many deals came from the 50 grand? 0, right? So this is where you're going to be sold a lot of crap, but it all starts here. What does that say? You can't read it. Will you apply the discipline to do the work? Your success in real estate, there's one leading indicator. It's the number of meaningful conversations you had every day, 5 days a week, minimum 20. Minimum 20. And it doesn't matter, figure it out. Door knock if you have to. Go into a neighborhood and door knock, right? Or you can hold an open house and door knock around an open house. That's an easy way to have 100 conversations, right? So there's different ways to go about it. Then all the good stuff comes. Then you'll set appointments, you'll meet, you'll sign them as a client, you'll get paid. Most agents spend all their time in this here. So you get one client and you spend like 50 hours with one client, and then you forget that the whole business revolves around number one. So make sure if you're on the roller coaster of income, anyone ever feel that before, like an income roller coaster? It's because you're ignoring number one because you're trying to service a client for the most part. That's what I've seen. So you've got to dedicate the first 4 hours of the day to new business development. As if it was back-to-back listing appointments. They're immovable. You can't not do them, right? It's the thing we have to do that we don't feel like doing. And then focus on building a business. And some of you may not run a team, that may not be your ultimate goal, but you could sell 50 homes a year with a licensed assistant and have an awesome business, So we've got to look at it like a business. So who here is not with EXP? So you guys don't have access to this yet, but when you join, you will. Inside a real estate B school. So part of this stacking that John was talking about, and it didn't happen right away for me. My mentality around it was to separate my coaching program from EXP. But when I really figured out that I could impact like a ton of agents if I just push Real Estate B School into EXP. So there are some of you in EXP that don't know you have this. And if that's you and you don't have access to like all this stuff, you never logged in, email expsupport@realestatebschool.com. But we've set up all the systems, all the lead gen levers, all the lead conversion systems, all the scripts you'll ever need, the sales frameworks for buyers and sellers, and all the client care stuff. You guys get access to it for free. And it's only in a platform like that we could possibly offer something like that. It's really, really cool. All right, so number 5, I've got to hustle here because I have 51 seconds left. I'm going to take like 3 extra minutes. All right. Any Tim Tebow fans in here? Yeah. Anyone see what was the Netflix special? It was really good. Yeah, it's good. So don't worry about what you can't control. Our focus and energy needs to be on the things that we can control. Attitude, effort, focus. These are the things we can control. So this is my first business plan. I might have overkilled it. It was double-sided. I laminated it 20 times. I brought it everywhere with me. One side was professional, one side was personal. But it allowed me on a daily basis, multiple times a day, to look at what I was building. This is my second one. This is my current one. There's a really good book called Living Forward by Michael Hyatt. That's worth writing down, Living Forward, where you write your life plan. And it breaks down your life into the different categories that are important to you. So I highly recommend that. Real quick, I'm going to take you guys through a process that I want you to go through in maybe 90 minutes of quiet time. This is how I was able to build multiple businesses. It didn't start in the daily. For me, in my mind, it started in the future. So to begin with the end in mind, where do you want to be 3 short years from now in your real estate business? Where do you want to be 3 short years from now in your rev share business? And just write it down. Don't overthink it. It's not complicated. I want to have 10 people on my front line and each of them have 10 3 years from now. 100% achievable. But not if you just leave it at that. Some people make a goal and they don't actually break it down. So we break it down into what has to happen this year for that to be true. So say that 10 by 10 is your goal 3 years from now. This year, I have to bring 3 or 4 people to EXP. I've got to get uncomfortable. I've got to get the script. I've got to build my list, right? So it's not rocket science, but what do you have to do this year? And then you break it down into the quarter. So what has to happen the first quarter of the first year of this 3-year vision? The first quarter has to look like I probably have to put my list together. I have to role play, the scripts that we have access to for agent attraction, to your dog. It doesn't matter who you role play these things with, but you've got to do something to get started. And then we break it down into the weeks. So the 2, 10, 40, right? So this week I have to talk to 10 agents. right? And then you break it down into the daily. How am I going to eat that frog? That's another good book, Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. What must I do today to achieve my goals? And you'll have no chance at doing the things that you have to do today because they all suck. It all sucks. They're all hard. You don't feel like doing any of them. Who was in the gym this morning? Was that your daughter in the gym? I was so impressed by that. Yeah. So I didn't feel like working out this morning. I left my warm wife in bed. She was like still snoozing. And I was like, shit, if I didn't commit 3 weeks ago to 250 workouts this year. And that would have been my 5th workout for the week. And so I didn't feel like doing it, but I did it because I was committed. And I was just really impressed. And there were some other guys in there, and it was a really crappy gym. Like we were just like, I was in a corner, barely any room. And I was just like, I got to work out for 30 minutes. So I committed to it. So that was one thing I could do today that fed into this longer term vision. I'm 50. I want to be like really physically strong by age 55. So we can have just this amazing. And my wife and I have committed to that together, that we want to be physically, like when our kids leave, like the party, like that's when the party starts. We've got 5 years with our 13-year-old. So dominate your days. I'm going to go through these quick, but you guys are there isn't a world where like I could be partnered with Jose, who could be partnered with Aaron, and you guys get like all these mentors that are showing you that none of us at some point had anything figured out. I promise if I had a whole 40 minutes to present all the failures, I could fill it up easily, right? But in this opportunity, you can see and lean on guys that have figured out how to go pro at different levels of their life. So you need to become the expert. Keeping Current Matters is a really low source. Anyone hear of that? It's just a really cheap way to look like the expert in your market, to do a daily blog. Track your numbers. This is something that if you want to play the game of real estate at a very, very high level, you have to track your numbers, because otherwise it's just really easy to lie to yourself. If you want to lose weight, you probably have to use one of those, food trackers, right? So there's no way around it. Then master your craft. I don't know anyone that plays the tactical game of real estate better than Aaron. So you guys just plug into his stuff and say the things that he says, even if they make you feel uncomfortable. And then I heard this first from John, is that you need to marry the process and divorce the result. So a lot of us, we get so discouraged, with like getting rejected or whatever, but you're playing this game long-term, right? You're not playing the short game. You got to get uncomfortable. The good news is that most agents won't do this. Our industry is like 90% of agents are just playing a really weak game in the business, and they're not going to show up at a pro level. Number 7, I'll do this real quick. Really, really important, and that's why I was just so impressed by people that make it to the gym. I didn't feel like freaking being there. But you have to prioritize your physical health. And this is something I can't say I did it perfectly back in the day when everything was crazy, but you have to have the energy to show up all day for business and then have enough energy to step into your home and still be a good dad or mom or parent, right? So you have to train your body, you have to hydrate. You cannot hack sleep. You can't get less sleep and still function. Eat real food. For some of you, it's probably putting a timer on apps on your phone. They're not serving any meaningful goal you have, I promise. And that's going to be a tough one because it's majorly addictive. And then figure out some sort of daily routine around quiet time. For me, it's faith-based. We do a devotional, we meditate, and we read the Bible, and we pray together. But figure out something that you could do on a regular basis. Last thing I'll mention here is that another good book with the title First Things First, but it was Stephen Covey's earlier work, and he was more known for the 7 Habits. Yeah, but really good book. Run Your Race. Who was I talking to over here earlier that made the comment? Jerry, right? Where are you? Yeah. I know you said it offhanded, but he said, I'm just trying to keep up with you guys. But it's the worst thing ever. No, you don't know the shit show of the person you're trying to be like. Like nobody is sharing their real version of themselves in anything that you would ever see, right? Everyone has hard stuff going on. So you just need to run your race. Yeah, be inspired by people that seem to have it figured out, but make sure they've really got it figured out. Right? So run your race and just focus on your next right thing, comparison is the thief of joy. So that's why social media is so crippling, because you're going on Instagram especially. I go on Instagram and I physically have a headache because everyone is better looking than me. Their kids are like better behaved. They're going on all these vacations, and you're seeing, like, you're scrolling up, you're seeing highlight reel of everything good on everyone you know, and none of the actual part of their life, right? I tell my son this, I'll probably cry again. He's 16 years old, sophomore. He is going to play. Why do I cry? He's going to play D1 volleyball, which is super competitive. And he compares himself sometimes, like, he's trying to make the team and he's competing against this player or whatever. I said, but it's none of that really matters. It's like, it's you versus you. Your ability to succeed in something, it's just that, what are you going to do now to make yourself better? You still got 2 years before you're going to play college, right? You winning or losing this game really doesn't matter, right? Because you're just playing a bigger game. So it's you versus you. It's going to be messy. This is probably one of our Christmas cards we sent out, where we are the perfect family, right? Really, really awesome family. We're all better looking than your family. Look how nice my son's hair is in that picture. Looks perfect. You guys, if you knew Kendall today, you would say that's not even her. But this is the cards we all sent out. Who gets Christmas cards like this pretty, right? Everybody? So the year my wife sent out this picture as our Christmas card, never did we get a comment. No one ever reached out and said, your family looks so pretty when we sent out this Christmas card. We got 100 people respond, best Christmas card ever. Because this is the reality of our lives. This is like, we're kind of fighting, and these stupid cards that's her idea. The girl in the back there, my wife. She's like, she buys us all outfits, and she pays an expensive photographer so we can, and our photographer got this picture, and look at Anders. I mean, come on. He's in the game. So it's going to be super messy. If you're achieving big things, it is going to be messy. Make sure you're like super connected with your spouse and you're really communicating at a deep level. That it's gonna be messy, but we'll get through it. And then don't be so serious. And I'll end with this here. When my wife has about 100 of these pictures now, this is the first one she ever took. It was on our annual honeymoon. It says, I never dreamed I'd grow up to be the world's hottest husband. But covered in my fat roll, it says, and here I am crushing it. And she showed me this picture when I woke up with like the drool coming down. And I said, first thing I said, do not post that on Facebook. And then years later, I ran an ad with this montage as the picture. It was our best performing ad that I've ever run. Right? So just realize that, be yourself. It's going to be messy. Share the reality of your life with other agents, right? In agent attraction, or your clients. Get to know them and share in the journey. So my dad and all of that stuff, maybe I'll tell you the story one day. But one thing I learned from him, and this was through his AA program, there's so much goodness in this here. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So there's so much stuff that we're trying to control in our lives that we cannot possibly control. And just have an awareness on a daily basis that, like, most of it you can't control. Just the things you can, just ask for the confidence to step into that stuff and do your best to manage those situations. That's all I've got. Let's do the work.
Yes, we've got a woman on our panel. She has been in the real estate business for 22 years. She started her business 10